Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to this morning's information webinar about our new short course recently launched, Mastering ESG for Financial Planners. My name is Denise McLaughlin, and I am part of the team here in LAA. Having developed and delivered the content for this course, I'm delighted to be joined here today by Bernard Walsh, Director of Pensions and Investments with PwC and lecturer on the Specialist Investment Advisor course with LAA. Bernard has over 25 years of experience in life and pensions and is a regular media commentator on pensions and investment matters. I might just get you to move on to the next slide there, Bernard.
Sure.
Thanks. So just in terms of what we'll be going through during the webinar, I'll be giving you a high-level overview of the course delivery and logistics, and then Bernard is going to take you through an overview of the course content, who this course is tailored for, the modules in the course, and then what you can expect to take away from the course. And then at the end, we'll also have a Q&A for any of your questions. So just in terms as well of course delivery, it's available on demand. So that means that lectures are pre-recorded and can be completed in your own time and at your own pace. So at the end of each module, there will also be a short quiz that's just going to test your knowledge. And there will be 6 modules as well in total. And those that complete the course will get 4 hours CPD if you have an annual CPD requirement. You'll also get a certificate of completion from LAA. The course is also €600 for LAA members and €700 for non-LAA members. And registrations are now currently open for this course. And more information on how you can register will be covered towards the end. As I mentioned as well, if you have any questions during the webinar for myself or Bernard, please use the Q&A box there at the bottom of your screen and we'll answer them towards the end. So now I'm just going to pass you over to Bernard and I'll be back on the end for the Q&A.
Great. Thanks, Denise. And hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I suppose the area of ESG is what I'm quite passionate about. It's something that has evolved for a long period of time, but it's certainly front and center for most of us. And I'm going to take you through some of the key parts of what the course is all about, but it's something that comes up in client conversations. It's something that's in the media all of the time. And we only have to really look out the window to see some of the evidence of ESG. And it certainly is visible to all of us. We've seen the news reports of floods, of droughts, of wildfires in around Los Angeles and so on. So the E, which is the environmental part of ESG, is certainly something that people are acutely aware of. When it comes to the S and the G, maybe much less so, and maybe they don't get the same level of attention as some of the others. Now, in the last number of days, many of you may have been celebrating International Women's Day, and that whole area of diversity, equality in the workplace, equality in terms of board representation in big businesses, is one that is quite clear to many of you as being something that has progressed to some extent, but has a long way to go. In terms of employee rights, and working rights. Again, this is something that has changed quite a lot. Changed quite a lot, following the COVID pandemic as well. The whole area of workplace health and safety, again, all of these areas feature quite strongly in the S, the social of ESG. And the G then is really one that tends to come to the fore more often than not when something goes wrong. And it can include things like how well boards of directors are run. It can be even move into areas of weaknesses in audit practices and areas such as bribery and corruption as well. So these themes, you will see them in the media. A lot of you can see them as you walk out the front door of your house, and it's certainly something that's visible to you, but it's also very visible to for those of you that are in client-facing roles. They're acutely aware of it as well. And the world of ESG adoption and building it into what people do has changed quite a lot. From on the left hand side, you have the most basic really, which is some of meeting the minimum requirements of basic compliance. For a lot of businesses, they're probably at stage 2 on the spectrum I'm showing you here, where there's a good degree of compliance with legislation. They're starting to use sustainable products to, or even to sell sustainable products, and promote ESG. As an investment theme is something that we're seeing in the financial services industry more and more. So every day you're starting to see some aspect of your life where the world of ESG gets reflected, if only as simple as people reusing materials, or might be even recycling the any plastic bottles that they might use. So you're starting to see more and more evidence of ESG adoption. That can move up the spectrum into where companies move outside of just the basic legal requirements into a commitment to the more non-legally binding requirements, and integrating it into what they do in their processes, in the way they operate, and then into what they're doing for their clients. So in terms of the ESG offerings that they will provide as well. The next stage up from that is where ESG and sustainability is fully embedded, and it's an integral part of what your company is actually doing. And there are new standards that have evolved that can meet those requirements. And in the investment world, where we're seeing what we'll cover a lot in the course, the dark green or Article 9 investment strategies are those that are much more evolved from an ESG perspective as well. And then up at level 5, really, this is where we see the front runners in the industry, is where sustainability and ESG lie at the heart of what you're doing. It features heavily in your value chain, that you're selling market leading products that are sustainable, and that the ESG risks are fully integrated, let's say in investment and at corporate level. So any major investment decisions are fully assessed from in terms of their ESG impact as well. So that's a very wide spectrum of adoption. You may be working in different businesses that have um, that might be at level 1 or at level 5, or and I think more are somewhere in between. But I've put that red X there where I think you'll see a lot of businesses are operating today. If we were to look at it in the context of client advice, and I mean in relation to advising people primarily on things like, let's say, life and pensions products, is what I would tend to think about, but it can have a much wider application than what I'm showing you here. And I really just get bringing you from where we were to where we're hopefully going to. And on the left hand side, you have that far greater product or service based focus in the business, where you're looking at what are we offering in terms of selection, what price are we charging, how widely available are our offerings. So many companies have major digital transformation programs, and looking at, can we make products easier to use, easier to access, and convenient for them. We More and more we're starting to see this movement to a more societal focus. And that's certainly something that we've seen more and more in this decade, and a transition to that greater societal transformation from just digital transformation, where sustainability lies at the heart of what we're trying to achieve. You have that greater interest in not just a financial outcome, but that you are looking at that the wider impact of your business operations, what it will mean for employees, but also looking at the wider stakeholder audience that may be impacted in what you're doing. So looking at areas like diversity and inclusion, safety and security and work, corporate social responsibility. And many of you are working in business, I would imagine, where there's been more talk about the organization's purpose and its values. And sustainability lies at the very heart of that. And sustainability, not just in the context of climate change, but operating in a sustainable way that reflects the needs of the wider stakeholder group, including very much the employees of the company. What's driving this move? Some of the factors, climate change, it just can't be. There are those who deny it out there, I'm sure, but it just can't be denied when you see some of the extreme weather events that we've seen more recently. We have seen that declining political trust, so that there's a greater reliance on companies to take on their own responsibility in seeking to do better for society in how they're operating. I think clients expect a level of transparency, customers expect transparency, regulators expect greater transparency as well. So that has to feature in the evolution of client advice and engagement with them as well. And being able to see through, how is my money actually being used? And expectations have been increased. Customers expect that you will do good with their money. Employees will expect that greater level of care, that greater level of interest in the business, and the minimum standards that and minimum expectations are not going away, and they're not going to reduce either. Investors, have a need to ensure that that the business where they hold the assets of the company, or they have shareholding in the company, that they have an expectation that it is being run in an appropriate manner. So again, that they're looking for that broader outcome, not just a financial outcome, but also that you will get the practices and the processes, and the how you generated that income, as well as how much, is what's relevant to more investors. And regulators are operating in a manner of a higher level of scrutiny, a wider level of scrutiny as well. So wider and deeper level of scrutiny of businesses, and how they do their business. When we look at ESG in financial advice, and when we're looking at, as an organization, LIA, looking to improve the professionalization of the advice that we're giving to clients on a day-to-day basis, we want to make sure that advice remains sustainable, that it's delivered at the highest possible standard as well. So what that can involve is, I think it's a wonderful word, is alignment. So you're aligning the investment strategy that you're putting to your clients, the pension strategy, or whatever form of product solution that you're ultimately providing, but you're aligning it with your clients' values, while at the same time addressing long-term risks and opportunities. So here's why it matters to put ESG at the heart of your financial advice process. Clients are more and more conscious of environmental and social issues. They're aware of climate change. If it's obvious to you that climate change is an issue, if it's obvious to you that diversity is an issue, well, they'll certainly want their investments to reflect these priorities. And they may not explicitly state that, but we know that that is an important focus for them. When it comes to risk management, E- ESG factors will help to identify potential risks. So even if you were to take, some of the reputational damage that can be done by businesses breaching regulation or legislation, it can be hugely damaging for a company. And we have seen businesses, almost wiped out because of their failings in regard to adequate reporting and transparency in how they're operating as well. What ESG feeds into this process is genuinely helping you to build more resilient portfolios that can withstand regulatory change over time, because businesses are doing it in the right way. When we talk about performance potential, look, the the jury's out on this one to some extent, but there are studies out there that are suggesting more and more that companies with stronger ESG practices are delivering competitive financial returns over the long term. There's many statistics out there to say ESG will outperform as those that suggesting it will underperform. There are obviously certain times in the market when uh, parts of the investment universe will do better than others for different reasons. But we're starting to see more and more ESG outcomes, ESG um, outcomes being reflected strongly in overall improved performance. In terms of transparency and trust, we know that clients, they do value accountability. They do value better ethical practices, and all of this is intertwined with ESG focused investment products. So for financial advisors, seeing how ESG is important to clients, being able to assess that and being able to meet their client expectations, That is what lies at the heart of building stronger, sustainable, and very much trust-based relationships with your clients. And for businesses that want to operate with long-term, deep client relationships, ESG is certainly very much part of that. So who's this course intended for? Well, I'm absolutely biased on this one, but I genuinely believe that, everybody should have a good understanding of ESG. But if we were just to look at, those that are working in financial services in this country at the moment, anybody who's involved in meeting clients to provide a good quality advice based service to those clients, you're required to establish your clients' ESG requirements. You're also seeing a huge number of products that have an ESG element to them. They can be green business loans, you can have green mortgages or green home loans. We're also seeing a lot of green investment strategies have been emerging for many, many years. Um, Being able to understand those and to separate the good from the bad, being able to understand what is authentically green but also what is greenwashing. We may see quite an element of that over the next few days. But what's really essential here is being able to read between the lines and be able to see what are the standards. Are they meeting the standards? Are they again aligned with what my clients are looking for? So if your client base is expecting you to inform them and to help you to make decisions that reflect their needs and views, well, you have to have a good understanding of the three elements of E, S, and G and how they fit into addressing those needs. If you look a bit more specifically, financial advisors and wealth managers absolutely need to understand how to incorporate ESG into your client portfolios, how to do it in that authentic manner. How can you bring sustainability into your risk and return analysis? So, again, it's more about not just how much return you're getting, but how that return was actually achieved. Um, we know more pension fund and asset managers need to recognize that without a focus on the more responsible investment strategies, that they may be running higher levels of risk for their clients. Corporate finance and governance professionals, again, are if you are looking at acquisitions, if you're looking at broadening the client base of your business, expanding companies or businesses out there today, if you're working in a compliance function, or you're working in a risk function, being able to assess new product solutions, being able to assess market dynamics, you need to be able to bring in the ESG risks into that as well. So I would suggest that people who are working in the risk function deeply understand the importance of transparency and accountability, and the ESG is becoming a core part of that today. So really anybody who's working in the financial services industry who wants to deepen their ESG expertise, this course is a terrific way to actually go about doing that. So let's look down into some of the individual parts of the course. So I won't go through each of these in a huge level of detail, but just to give you an idea of the very beginning of this course, we'll just look at explaining ESG. So we'll start the course from the very, very basics. This is an introductory course. We'll talk about what is ESG. We look at some of the different types of responsible investment, and I will warn you that it is an area that has many 3 and 4 letter abbreviations. So we'll try and focus on the key ones, and particularly when it comes to supervision between the European Union and the United Nations, there are some absolutely seminal pieces of work that have been done that have identified what lies at the heart of ESG. And then when we start to look at bringing that into what our clients are looking for, how can we bring that into establishing good ESG preferences? So these are some of the key areas we'll start off at. We start then into the first of the 3 letters. So we start into the E. So understanding E, looking into areas such as planetary boundaries. So this is a fascinating area where you're looking at the interaction of how the entire Earth can operate, and the emergence of EE impacts, as we will talk about, how that feeds into the circular economy and the blue economy, the marine economy, as some people call it, that is, it takes up so much of the Earth's space. Um, we'll then look into areas about how you bring the E part of the ESG world into green finance, and some of the different ways in which that has been operating. So some of you will be quite familiar with some of those concepts already. Particularly, um, this is probably the one of the more higher profile parts of ESG and finance. And for each of the the three areas, we are going to take a look at some case studies. Some businesses are better than others in how they have adopted ESG practices, and some of them have changed their approach to it. Over the last number of years as well. So the case, one of the case studies we're going to take a look at is BP PLC under the E heading. When it comes to the S heading, again, I mentioned it's not one that's as well known. I'm going to pick a couple of the themes under the S heading. One is globalization. Interesting from the election of the US president, that globalization may be weakening as a theme, but it's certainly an important one. Many of you will be familiar with artificial intelligence and automation, very important part of the S universe as well. We look at wealth inequality, digital disruption and access, and then how demographics are changing, people living longer, and what does that mean under the ESG heading. And then the final part, final theme we look at is labor rights. And we mentioned that at the very beginning as a very clear and obvious one. And the case study that we're going to use is a very interesting company called Gilead Sciences. So how do they incorporate the S of ESG into the heart of what they're doing? The G, we're going to give you a good explanation of what it is, what are the key aspects of it, and then some of the big challenges that the G part has taken over time. How can businesses use committees within their organizations to implement the G in an effective way and in a balanced way as well? We'll just take a look at areas such as financial reporting and remuneration. And these are areas where the G has certainly faced quite a lot of challenges. So, again, go back to a phrase we use, alignment. How can you align executive remuneration, bring in transparency into that, and then connecting that all the way through to, to what extent is that improving the outcome for your shareholders and the wider stakeholder audience as well. And I'm going to pick two case studies here. One is to do with Tesla, a very, very high profile organization, and the second being the Fearless Girl campaign. So both of these have some interesting aspects to do with boards, how they operate, and board independence as well. Module 5 is about ESG in investment management, and we look at a number of different strategies, from divestment, which is getting rid of stocks that you don't believe meet with your ESG criteria; exclusion, so you're not, why would you omit them from your portfolio? How do companies engage? And I think this is a fascinating area. How can you use the strength of your shareholdings and your scale to achieve better outcomes? Remember, some great examples of that. Asset stewardship has become a very important term. So, by using your shareholdings with that higher level of trust and responsibility in terms of stewardship, really interesting area. And then we look at the ESG ratings agencies, an important part of the investment management universe, where they're going to look at how you can bring some external analysis to support your decision making in the ESG universe. We'll move on a little bit more in in module 6, in that whole ESG and investment decision making area, where we look at the whole area of active and passive investing in ESG. That is, there are different views on it. To what extent can a passive manager genuinely incorporate ESG into their strategies? We look at how ESG can be incorporated into the various different asset classes. The equity side of it tends to get most attention, but it also can feature very heavily in alternatives, in bonds, and in real estate as well. Manager selection: how can you genuinely assess whether this company sticks to its ESG principles or not. And then into that area that I mentioned earlier on of greenwashing, which is, to understand who is authentic in their approach to it. And then finally into where is ESG going from here? So it's facing a lot of challenges out there at the moment, and certainly a lot of political challenges. So what lies ahead for the world of ESG? So that's what we're going to cover on the course. It's a lot that we're going to do. It is an introductory course that hopefully will give you a strong flavour of and a good understanding and a working understanding of what ESG can do. And hopefully we're doing it in a way that is engaging and very much aimed at building on the professionalism in your approach in dealing with clients. So what can you expect to get from this course? So I think the first thing is that we're looking at unlocking the future of investing. So we genuinely believe that ESG lies is going to be and will be at the heart of good investment decisions for the future for anybody working in financial services. This course is all about offering you the insights to allow you to stay ahead of the evolving landscape. So your clients have an expectation that you can maybe not see around corners, but you can see you're looking at the future, and where the world of investing is going into the future, and ESG is certainly essential to all of that. We're hoping you will get a competitive edge. So those of you that have completed a course of this type, that you have a better understanding of what drives long-term sustainable returns for your clients by building out your understanding of ESG. So very much this course was designed with industry relevance in mind. Speak to clients every day of the week. I'm actively talking to them, and I bring ESG into those conversations. And what I think you'll find this this course differs from many others is it's very much actionable knowledge. It's about using practical skills to enhance your professional toolkit. We'd love to broaden the community of people that have real belief in responsible investing, and we'd love those that do this course to become advocates of it, and leaders of it in the financial services industry. So the final point there, we really would love you to join and to take part in this course. So Denise, I might hand back to you to talk about how the people on the call today can register for this wonderful course.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a million for that, Bernard. That was great, and there was loads of information there as well. And I suppose what's great about this course is that the content is really relevant and practical too. So before we get into the questions, if you're interested in registering for this course, you can register now through our website. If you're not an LAA member, you can still register for the course by creating a free LAA profile. Alternatively, if you would like more information or any help to register, please email education@laa.ie. So I'm just having a look through the questions now. And there's just a question, and someone's asking, is there an exam at the end of this course? So basically, after completing each module, there will be a brief multiple choice quiz. And this is just to assess your understanding and I suppose test your knowledge of the course. It's also required in order to be awarded the CPD hours for the course as well. And then there's just another question here, Bernard, I might pass to yourself. Someone's just asked, do I need a good knowledge of investments to do this course?
I don't think so, really. I think having a basic knowledge of it, if you've done QFA, I think that should be adequate, really. So the exam, the questions at the end of it, that's really just an assessment how you've got on with it. It's not the most challenging exam that we set in LIA. So some working knowledge of investment would be helpful, but not essential.
Perfect. Someone just asked, how long is the course? So this course is available on demand, so that just means that you can complete the modules at your own pace and in your own time. So you'll also have access to the course content for 90 days from your enrollment date. And just another one for yourself, Bernard. Someone has asked, is ESG replacing CSR?
Not really. I think there ESG is just is a much wider approach to how companies operate and what are yeah, you know, CSR is, for those that aren't familiar with it, is corporate social responsibility. It's probably one small part of the whole ESG universe, so it's by no means replacing it. It's really taking it on, and we will be talking about this through the course, how this whole area of sustainability has evolved over the years.
Great, thanks. And there's just a few questions then on the hours of CPD. So you'll be awarded 4 hours CPD when you complete this course. So I think that is all the questions from today. But if you did have any other questions about anything that was discussed, please do feel free to reach out to us in LAA or to Bernard. So just to wrap up, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this morning. I hope you found the webinar beneficial, and thanks again to Bernard for a really informative session. And just a reminder that we will be contacting everyone after this event with a copy of the recording. So if you have any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask today, please do reach out to us. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Denise.